Emma Carter had seen her fair share of chaos. As an ER nurse in Chicago, she was used to high-pressure situations, split-second decisions, frantic nights, and the relentless beeping of machines. But nothing had prepared her for the moment her phone buzzed in her pocket, pulling her out of her focus. The name on the screen made her stomach drop. Tom. Her stepfather never called unless it was bad news. She debated letting it go to voicemail, but sighed and swiped to answer. "Emma, hey!" His voice was overly cheerful, which only made her more uneasy. "Just wanted to give you a quick update. I sold the bookstore." Emma's breath caught. "You what?" "Yeah, finally let it go. Made sense, really." "You're never around to run it, and I needed the money. It was an easy sale, no drama, just quick cash. Honestly, you'll thank me later." Her grip on the phone tightened. "You had no right." "Relax," Tom chuckled. "It's just a bookstore." Just a bookstore. Emma could still see the shelves lined with books her mother had hand-picked. Smell the aged pages. Hear the quiet murmur of customers lingering in cozy corners. That store was her mother's dream, the place they built together. And now Tom had sold it, as if it were nothing. A cold wave of anger settled in her chest. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Emma stared at her phone long after the call ended, her heart pounding in her chest. Tom had no right. The bookstore wasn't his to sell. It was hers and her mother's. A piece of family history. A space filled with years of memories, laughter, and quiet moments of solace. And he had tossed it away like a meaningless trinket. A surge of anger burned through her, pushing away the initial shock. She grabbed her keys and stormed out of her apartment. There was only one person she needed to talk to right now. Rachel. Rachel had been her best friend since college and now worked in real estate. If anyone could help her figure out what the hell was going on, it was her. 20 minutes later, Emma walked into Rachel's office, barely waiting for her to look up before blurting out, "Tom sold the bookstore." Rachel's eyes widened. "Wait, what? He can't do that." Emma dropped into the chair across from her, rubbing her temples. "Well, he did, or at least he thinks he did." Rachel grabbed her laptop. "Let me check something." Within minutes, she pulled up the property records. After a few clicks, she looked up, her expression shifting. "Emma, your name is still on the title. The sale isn't finalized." Emma exhaled sharply. "So there's still a way to stop this?" Rachel nodded. "Absolutely. But we need to move fast." The anger in Emma's chest settled into something sharper. Determination. This wasn't over, not even close. Emma's pulse quickened as Rachel scrolled through the property records. The bookstore hadn't officially changed ownership yet, but that didn't mean Tom hadn't already set things in motion. "Okay, so the sale isn't finalized," Rachel said, eyes scanning her screen. "But that doesn't mean it won't be soon. We need to find out exactly what he did." Emma leaned forward, gripping the edge of Rachel's desk. "How do we do that?" Rachel tapped a few keys and pulled up a recent purchase agreement. She skimmed it quickly before letting out a sharp breath. "Oh, Emma, this is bad." Emma's stomach clenched. "How bad?" Rachel turned the screen toward her. "Tom signed as the sole owner. That's fraud. He had no legal right to sell it without your signature." Emma's jaw tightened. Of course he did. Lying and manipulating was second nature to Tom. "We need proof," Rachel continued. "If we can show he forged the paperwork, we can shut this down before it goes any further." Emma nodded, her mind racing. "Who handled the sale?" Rachel checked the documents. "Looks like it went through a small real estate office. Mason and Co. Let's start there." Emma grabbed her bag. "Then let's go. If Tom thinks he's getting away with this, he's in for a hell of a surprise." She wasn't just angry anymore. She was ready to fight. Emma and Rachel pulled up in front of Mason and Co., a modest real estate office tucked between a coffee shop and a dry cleaner. The bell above the door chimed as they stepped inside, the scent of stale coffee lingering in the air. A receptionist looked up from her desk. "Can I help you?" Rachel stepped forward, flashing a polite but firm smile. We need to speak with whoever handled the recent sale of Carter's books. The receptionist hesitated before motioning toward a glass-walled office. That would be Mr. Langley. One moment. A minute later, a tall man in his 50s emerged, adjusting his tie. I'm Greg Langley. What can I do for you? Emma wasted no time. I'm Emma Carter. Tom Carter sold my mother's bookstore without my consent. I believe he forged my signature on the documents. Langley's expression tightened. That's a serious accusation. Rachel crossed her arms. It's also true. Can we see the paperwork? Langley sighed and gestured toward his office. Come in. Inside, he retrieved a folder from his desk and slid it toward Emma. She flipped through the pages, then stopped cold. There it was. Her name. Her signature. But it wasn't hers. Her hands trembled. This is a forgery. Langley exhaled. If that's true, then the sale isn't valid, but you need legal action to prove it. Emma met Rachel's gaze. She was ready to take this to the next level. Emma sat in Rachel's car, staring at the forged signature on the copy of the sale agreement. Her name was there, but she had never signed it. This is enough to prove fraud, right? She asked, her voice tight with anger. Rachel exhaled. It's a solid start, but we need more. If Tom faked your signature, he might have lied about other things too. Emma clenched her fists. So what's next? Rachel tapped her phone. I'll call a lawyer, but you need to contact the buyer. If they know the sale was based on fraud, they might back out before it's too late. Emma nodded and dialed the number Langley had given her. The phone rang twice before a crisp voice answered. This is Mark Sullivan. Emma took a breath. Mr. Sullivan, my name is Emma Carter. I just found out that the bookstore you're purchasing was sold under fraudulent circumstances. My stepfather forged my signature. A pause, then, that's a serious claim. I can prove it. I need you to hold off on the purchase until I can get legal action in place. Sullivan sighed. I don't like being caught in the middle of disputes, but if you have evidence, I'll pause the deal until this gets sorted. Relief washed over Emma, but the battle wasn't over. Tom wasn't going to let this go without a fight. And neither was she. Emma barely had time to process her small victory before her phone buzzed again. Tom. She hesitated for half a second, then answered. Emma, what the hell did you do? His voice was sharp, all fake charm gone. I stopped you from committing fraud, she shot back. The buyer knows the sale was illegal. The deal is on hold. Tom scoffed. You think you're so smart, don't you? You've always been ungrateful. After everything I've done for you? Everything you've done for me? Emma's voice rose. You mean lying, stealing, and trying to sell my mother's bookstore behind my back? Yeah, real generous. Tom sighed dramatically. You don't understand, Emma. I was desperate. So that makes it okay to forge my signature? She snapped. It wasn't supposed to be like this, he muttered. I was going to fix everything. Emma exhaled slowly, controlling the anger rising inside her. Here's what's going to happen, Tom. You're going to walk away from this sale. If you don't, I will press charges for fraud and you will face real consequences. A long pause. Then, a bitter laugh. You think you can scare me? Tom growled. No, Emma said calmly. I think the law can. The line went dead. Rachel, who had been listening, crossed her arms. He's panicking. Emma nodded. Good, he should be. The fight wasn't over yet, but she wasn't backing down. The next morning, Emma and Rachel met with Jake Miller, a lawyer Rachel had recommended. His office was small but efficient, lined with legal books and case files stacked neatly on his desk. This is a clear case of fraud, Jake said after reviewing the documents. You have enough evidence to void the sale and press criminal charges against Tom. Emma exhaled, feeling a mix of relief and tension. I don't want to drag this through a messy court case. But I won't let him get away with it either. Jake nodded. The best move is to send a cease and desist letter. It'll put him on notice that any further attempts to sell the property will result in legal action. And if he ignores it, Rachel asked. Then we escalate, but given his situation, he'll likely back down. That afternoon, Jake drafted the letter, outlining the fraud, the forged documents, and the legal consequences Tom would face if he didn't walk away from the sale. Emma read it over, then signed it. "Let's see how he reacts to this," she muttered, watching as Jake emailed it to Tom's last known address. Hours later, her phone buzzed. A message from Tom. "You think you've won? This isn't over." Emma stared at the screen and smirked. "Actually, Tom, it is." She wasn't just fighting back. She was winning. A week later, Emma received the official confirmation. The sale was voided. Mark Sullivan, the buyer, had withdrawn completely after receiving proof of Tom's fraud. The bookstore was still legally hers. She stood outside the shop that afternoon, keys in hand, staring at the familiar brick facade. The sun cast long shadows over the sidewalk, and for the first time in weeks, she felt at peace. Rachel leaned against the doorframe, grinning. "So, what now?" Emma exhaled, feeling the weight lift from her shoulders. "I think it's time for a fresh start." Over the next month, she worked tirelessly to restore the shop, repainting the walls, reorganizing shelves, and bringing back the warmth that had once defined the space. The grand reopening was a quiet affair, just how she wanted it. Close friends, loyal customers, and a sense of renewal. Tom? She hadn't heard from him since receiving Jake's cease and desist letter. Last she knew, he was drowning in legal trouble. And Emma? She was finally free. As she locked up the store that evening, she took one last look at the sign above the door. Carter's Books. It wasn't just a store. It was a symbol of everything she had fought for. And she wasn't letting anyone take it away again. Lessons learned from the story. 1. Stand up for what's yours. Emma's journey shows the importance of standing your ground. No one has the right to take what belongs to you, and if they try, you have every right to fight back. 2. Know your legal rights. Tom thought he could manipulate the situation, but Emma had the law on her side. Knowing her ownership rights and acting quickly helped her reclaim what was hers. 3. Trust the right people. Rachel and Jake played crucial roles in helping Emma navigate the crisis. Surrounding yourself with people who genuinely support you makes all the difference. 4. Toxic people won't change, but you can. Tom used manipulation and deceit, just like he always had. The difference this time? Emma refused to let him control her. Growth isn't about changing toxic people. It's about changing how you respond to them. 5. Some battles are worth fighting. Walking away isn't always the best choice. Emma could have let the bookstore go, but it wasn't just about a building. It was about her history, her independence, and her future. 6. Freedom comes from taking control. By confronting Tom and using the law to protect herself, Emma wasn't just saving her bookstore. She was taking control of her own life. In the end, Emma didn't just win the fight. She proved to herself that she was stronger than she ever realized.